Hello, welcome to Civil Discourse Now. My name is Mark Small. I'm an attorney in Indianapolis, Indiana. My co-host is Paul Ogden, also an attorney here in Indianapolis. We're coming to you from Broad Ripple, Indiana. It's part of Indianapolis on the north side, from Big Hat Books, 6510 Cornell Avenue. It's located right next to the Monon Trail, which is kind of a runway walkway for people, recreational area in Indianapolis. Big Hat Books has an excellent selection of books, one of which happens to be a novel I wrote called Crime Pays. They also have space here to rent for parties and different occasions. So if you get a chance, come by Big Hat Books. Paul?
Thank you, Mark. Civil Discourse Now is a program devoted to a civil discussion of state, local, national, international issues. This show was started by co-host Mark Small, and he was of the belief, and I am of the belief as well, that we don't have enough civil discussion of issues. We have people yelling at each other on TV, not having good discussions of issues, and we thought that that was missing. So that's why Mark started Civil Discourse Now, and we have as our guest today Susan Blair, who is a candidate for Council District 1 on the northwest side of Indianapolis. Welcome, Susan.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for having me.
Okay.
Welcome, Mark, and thank you for having me.
Certainly.
Well, Susan, tell us, give us a short biography of yourself.
Well, I'm a lifelong Indianapolis resident. I grew up on the east side of Indianapolis, went to Arsenault Technical High School, and then later went on to IUPUI. I moved to Pike Township in 1978, lived there ever since, and I left my day job, if you will, in 1982 when my daughter was born. Was a stay-at-home mom for a short period of time, and during that time I got involved in the community and volunteer activities. I started out with Boy Scouts. I was a Cub Master for 5 years. Then I became a swim team manager for my daughter's swim team. Then I got on my homeowners association board, and I served 9 years on that, 3 years as president. During that tenure, I was invited to join the Pike Township Residents Association, and that was like in 1993, if memory serves me correctly. And then in 2001, I became president of that organization, and I'm still president. So I have served in a volunteer capacity for a long time. Professionally, I'm an interior designer, and I do still actively work, but not necessarily in full-scale design. I work part-time for the Blakely Corporation, and that's flooring products.
Okay. Council District 1, where is that located now?
It's on the northwest side of Indianapolis, Pike Township. The boundaries are 96th Street to the north, 56th Street to the south, Township Line Road to the east, Raceway Road or County Road to the west, and it meanders along Michigan Road, goes on the west side of Michigan Road once you get past 86th Street.
Okay. And you have been a resident of Pike Township since 1978?
Correct.
How has the township changed over those years?
Tremendously. When we purchased our home, 86th Street was a two-lane road, kind of a country road. There were farm fields all around us. I like to tell the story that if you don't want development, don't buy where there's a McDonald's. Because when we bought our home, McDonald's was on 86th Street, and the pyramids were there at 86th and Michigan Road. The Cocoline at that time, which is now Sunoco, was on the corner of 86th and Michigan Road. That was it. There was nothing else along there. And McDonald's has great marketing skills. They knew what was coming.
86 used to be State Road 100.
Correct. I think so. I think that's correct. Yeah.
I'm from Kokomo originally, and when my father would be flying out someplace on business, this was how old I am. They had not yet built the interstate. The interstate, it goes around Indianapolis. If you're watching this from another state, Indianapolis has I-465, goes around the city and is kind of a beltway around it. The airport's on the west side, but there's no interstate. And so we take State Road 31 down to State Road 100, over to the west. I have no idea what it was that we took down, I guess High School Road, to get down to the airport. And then the airport was like a single story thing, and you just walk out to the plane to get on, and you could stand on the roof of the airport and watch people as they departed. You know, yeah, it's just really, it's kind of wild. I'm sorry, that was going back, but I remember going over and going by the petroleum cracking plant over there, the processing plant.
Absolutely, the refinery.
Yes.
That was there for a number of years, and we used to have the pleasure of smelling the odor from the refinery, a sulfur type smell, and that obviously is long gone now because the refinery's been closed for a number of years.
You're talking about Rock Island?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. In fact, I think your opponent, we won't mention his name, worked on that, did he?
Well, actually, what he and I worked on that together. There was a company, it's gone into bankruptcy now, but it was called Ecological Solutions Incorporated, and it was 86 in Georgetown Road predominantly, and that property was purchased from Marathon. Marathon now owns the refinery property, and they were an oil recycler, and the odor was horrendous from their facility, and it hadn't been since the refinery was closed. We didn't have an odor in that area any longer. And then they came in the mid-90s, I believe, or late 90s, and started their processing, and the odor was terrible. So when Councilor Evans, and I'll mention his name, became councilor, that was one of his primary goals, was to address that odor issue. It took a while, it was complicated, but we worked on it together, and ultimately the company went into bankruptcy, and I get a call one day from the Pike Township Fire Marshal, Susan, we got a major problem in Pike Township, and it was in regard to ESI had gone into, that's the acronym for the company, they had gone into bankruptcy, and they just walked off the physical structure. They left the doors standing open, and they had 2 in-ground tanks. Both of them had a capacity of 1 million gallons, and they were both virtually almost full. And the problem was, and this happened in this late summer of 2010, we had a drought then. But if we were to have a rain, 2 inches of water, those tanks were going to overflow into our groundwater and into the creek that runs along there. So it was an emergency situation. The city was aware of it. I got involved with the city. I serve on the Office of Code Enforcement. So I contacted the code enforcement people. We all got busy on it. We started holding monthly meetings, and I'm happy to report at this time it's being cleaned up.
Excellent.
And will be before long in a position where another company can come in. And that was part of the problem. The EPA got involved in it because it was an emergency situation and certainly an environmental issue. And the problem was another company would not come in and inhabit that property without having it being cleaned. The tanks were Many of the tanks were full of PCBs, and it was going to cost, the estimated cost was $2.5 million to clean it. Well, the EPA didn't want to pay that. Nobody seemed to want to pay it.
And it didn't qualify as a Superfund?
Well, not to my knowledge. There were investors involved, and there was quite a bit of money, like somewhere in the area of $20 million of investor funds. So there was a trust officer handling it for the bankruptcy, and that was involved too. But anyway, after months of meeting and kind of holding everybody responsible, it's being now cleaned up. And actually it's being cleaned up by the largest customer of ESI. They are actually paying to have it cleaned, and
One of the,
so that's good news.
I should point out, I live in Pike. I really enjoy living in Pike. One of the challenges, though, in Pike is the southern part of Pike, where along 38th Street, in particular the Lafayette Square area. What can we do about development in that area? Should we be involved in doing development? Where do you think that area is going to go?
Well, I think it has to be a partnership. I think it has to be a partnership between government and private sector. Government can only do so much, and that is obviously get crime down, have your infrastructure in place, and in some cases, give property abatement in order to encourage development. The Lafayette Square area has gone through a major transition, as we know. It is challenging. It is starting to make a comeback. The Pike Township Residents Association has worked in conjunction with the Lafayette Square Area Coalition in order to try to influence that development. I will say that the Lafayette Square Area Coalition takes more of the lead in it because that's their primary focus. And what the Pike Township Residents Association, excuse me, and our acronym is PTRA, and I'll refer to that commonly. We get involved when it comes to land use, and that's where our focus is. So I think it will come back. It's just going to take time.
Okay. If you could identify 3 main issues or 3 main concerns that you have in the campaign, what would those be?
Well, my number one concern or focus is constituent service. I believe that it's interesting, as I've been out campaigning and knocking on doors, most people don't even know who their counselor is. They don't even know what a counselor does. So it will be my main focus to educate the constituency in the district as to what the council does, be their representative, and make sure that if there are government services that they're lacking, that they get those. I also have, and I was asked to champion this, and I don't know if champion is the correct terminology, but
We'll let it go.
We'll let it go at that. But I had a potential constituent ask me to get involved in the animal control issue. And I am a huge animal lover. And
Do you have dogs?
I don't. I have cats right now. I have had dogs.
Cats. We both have cats.
But I love dogs. I love cats. I love all animals. I mean, I feed the raccoons, the squirrels, the birds, you name it, I feed it. Comes to my door, it gets fed. And I have some feral cats right now that I provide shelters for and heat for in the winter. But I have not been to the animal control division because it depresses me. And I said that to this constituent, that is, I know it's going on, but as my mother always said, what you don't know doesn't hurt you. So I have not been there for that very reason. Well, he encouraged me to go. So I made a campaign promise that if elected, I will go.
It's a depressing place.
It has to be.
Susan, we're at the end of the first segment. We'll be right back.
I will interrupt Sean. We'll be back in just a minute.